Refugees in Australia had a big win today in the High Court. A majority of the full bench ruled that the government's refusal to grant a protection visa to a Sri Lankan refugee because of an adverse ASIO security assessment was invalid. The ruling has implications for more than 50 other refugees, mostly Tamils, who are currently being held indefinitely in detention. Matthew Carney reports.
The High Court ruled that ASIO rejection of protection visas on security grounds is invalid because it's inconsistent with Australia's Migration Act.
The reason was that the court found that the Minister for Immigration already had statutory powers under the Migration Act to exclude refugees from protection on security grounds. And the problem here was that ASIO was trying to run its own exclusion process through a regulation, but not through the Act.
While generally it was a win for refugees, the High Court rejected arguments that the plaintiff was denied procedural fairness in the ASIO assessment because he had no access to review.
Essentially here the court said, look, in national security cases involving classified information, procedural fairness applies, but its content is fairly low or much diminished. And so the fact that ASIO had interviewed these refugees was really enough to put them on notice.
Refugee advocates say the decision means all refugees who are being detained indefinitely should now be released.
These are genuine refugees. They have been determined to be genuine refugees by Australia, and therefore now their refugee application should go to the next step and they should be granted visa.
Lateline spoke with one of the more than 50 who are currently being held. Some are in Villawood Detention Centre in Sydney. The refugee, who wanted to remain unidentified, said 4 years of detention had taken its toll.
It was a very bad experience I got, drinking the sleeping tablet, the self-harm, I get the blade, and, I'm trying to suicide for nearly 8 times or 9 times.
Being an Australian citizen, I feel it embarrassing that Australia is the only country that detains their refugees indefinitely. So that anomaly is now no longer going to be the case, and that is great. For refugees, it's great for humanity.
But legal experts say the government can get around the High Court ruling.
The government could simply remake the ASIO regulation as a statutory amendment to the Migration Act. That would put it on a secure legislative footing. The attractiveness of that option to the government, of course, is that the ASIO security test is much wider than the Refugee Convention test, which the Minister applies under the current Act.
The Attorney-General, Nicola Roxon, says the government is carefully reviewing the 197-page decision.
Our government's made clear that we believe it is time to introduce a more transparent review process for ASIO adverse security assessments that was actually backed up in this decision. We're just considering the implications of this case to see exactly what that review process should look like.
Greens Senator Sarah Hanson-Young says she'll clarify the situation by introducing new laws.
The bill that I will bring to the Parliament next week will put forward a review mechanism and rule out the indefinite detention of refugees because it is inhumane and it is illegal.
This latest decision is another setback for the government's refugee policy. Just over a year ago, the High Court rejected the federal government's Malaysia solution. Matthew Carney, Lateline.